The future of human diversity, exploring genetic mixing and its implications. In our increasingly interconnected world, the topic of human genetic diversity and the potential outcomes of widespread interbreeding between different populations has become a subject of both scientific inquiry and public interest. This article explores various aspects of this complex issue, drawing from our current understanding of genetics, evolution, and social constructs. The nature of race and social constructs. Before delving into the biological aspects of human diversity, it's crucial to address the concept of race itself. Race, as we commonly understand it, is primarily a social construct, rather than a biological reality. This means that the categories we use to classify people based on physical characteristics are largely shaped by social, cultural, and historical factors, rather than genetics alone. The idea of social constructs extends beyond race to many concepts we use in daily life, including language itself. These are ideas created and accepted by society, rather than inherent features of the natural world. This doesn't mean these concepts aren't real or important in their effects, but it does highlight the role of human interpretation and agreement in shaping our understanding of the world. However, it's important to note that while race is a social construct, genetic variations between human populations do exist. The challenge lies in distinguishing between these biological realities and the social interpretations we layer upon them. Genetic diversity and intermixing. When considering the potential outcomes of extensive genetic mixing between different human populations over many generations, several key points emerge. 1. Increased genetic diversity. One of the primary outcomes of widespread intermixing would likely be an increase in overall genetic diversity within the global population. This increased diversity can have positive effects, such as potentially increased resistance to certain diseases and greater adaptability to environmental changes. 2. Changes in allele distribution. Currently, certain genetic variants, alleles, are more common in particular populations. With extensive mixing, these population-specific alleles would likely become more evenly distributed across the global population. 3. Phenotypic trait distribution. Physical characteristics that are currently associated with specific populations would likely show a more blended distribution over time. This doesn't mean everyone would look the same, but rather that traits would be mixed in new and varied ways. 4. Health impacts. Some genetic disorders that are currently more prevalent in certain populations could become less common as the genes associated with these disorders are spread more widely. Conversely, some beneficial genes might also become more widely distributed. 5. Timescale. Significant global genetic homogenization would likely take many generations, potentially hundreds or thousands of years, to occur on a large scale. The persistence of diversity. One of the most common misconceptions about genetic mixing is the idea that it would lead to a completely homogeneous human population, a single race where everyone looks essentially the same. This scenario is highly unlikely for several reasons. 1. Genetic recombination. During reproduction, genetic material from both parents is combined in new ways, ensuring that offspring have unique genetic compositions different from either parent. 2. Polygenic traits. Most physical characteristics are influenced by multiple genes, which can combine in countless ways, leading to a wide variety of appearances. 3. Dominant and recessive alleles. Some traits are determined by dominant and recessive alleles. Mixing populations doesn't eliminate these variations. It just changes their distribution. 4. Environmental factors. Gene expression can be influenced by environmental factors, leading to phenotypic differences, even among individuals with similar genetic backgrounds. 5. Ongoing mutations. New genetic variations continue to arise through mutations, maintaining diversity. 6. Non-uniform mixing. In reality, population mixing isn't uniform globally. Some groups may remain relatively isolated, preserving distinct genetic profiles. Epigenetic factors. Heritable changes in gene expression that don't involve changes to the DNA sequence can also contribute to phenotypic diversity. Due to these factors, even after extensive mixing, human appearances would still vary considerably. We'd likely see a broader spectrum of features rather than convergence to a single average look. The future of current racial categories. As genetic mixing increases, the racial categories we currently use would likely become less distinct over time. However, this doesn't mean that all differences would disappear. 1. Blurred boundaries. The traits we associate with specific races, like skin color, eye shape, hair texture, would still exist, but their distribution and combinations would change. 2. New combinations. People might not fit neatly into traditional racial categories, as genetic intermingling leads to a broader range of physical appearances and traits. Social significance. Even if genetic differences become less visibly pronounced, the social and cultural aspects of race will continue to shape identities and experiences. 4. Evolving perspectives. As our understanding of genetics and human diversity advances, societal attitudes toward race may also evolve. 5. Identity and diversity. Individuals may continue to embrace diverse cultural and ancestral backgrounds, regardless of any blending of physical traits. Implications and considerations. The potential outcomes of widespread genetic mixing and the evolving nature of racial categories raise several important social and ethical questions. 1. Societal response. How would societies adapt to shifting perceptions of race and diversity? And what implications would this have for social policies and cultural dynamics? 2. Identity and belonging. How might individuals' sense of identity and belonging evolve as racial distinctions become less overt? And what implications would this have for social cohesion and inclusivity? 3. Equity and justice. What measures would be needed to ensure equity and justice in a society where traditional racial categories are less applicable? And how might this impact policies related to diversity and discrimination? These questions and more are vital to consider as we navigate the complex intersections of genetics, race, and societal structures. Conclusion. The future of human genetic diversity is multifaceted, shaped by biological, social, and ethical considerations. As genetic intermixing continues, our understanding of race and human diversity will likely evolve, challenging traditional classifications and societal norms. While genetic mixing may lead to a broader spectrum of physical features and traits, the social and cultural significance of race will persist, influencing individual identities and societal dynamics. Addressing the implications of these changes requires careful consideration of societal responses, individual identities, and equity measures. By engaging in thoughtful discourse and ethical reflection, we can navigate these complexities in ways that promote inclusivity, understanding, and justice in a diverse and interconnected world.